Hi guys, this is Janet. I have Rob Hicks with me, head athletic trainer and assistant AD at LaGrange College. First question to you, looking back, do you have a distinct memory of experiencing racism as an athletic trainer?
As an athletic trainer, yeah, there's some small things here and there that would happen, depending on where I was working at or who I was working with or who I was working for. Um, I remember some, I guess the memories aren't necessarily awful, but I knew certain things were said or done or proposed in a certain way because of my race. And being young, starting out, I was the only black male in my class coming through undergrad. And one of the things that was, I guess I can look at it as a tribute, but it also, was one of those things where a lot of times you get told you're the person that's representing everyone, right? When I first got to Valdosta State, sorry, woke up a little hoarse this morning. When I first got to Valdosta State, I remember my orientation, and my orientation leader was a young black guy. I think he was probably a junior at the time, and we're actually still good friends to this day. But he had a group of about 10 of us, and I was the only black guy in that group as well. And when he went around and asked what we're all thinking about majoring in, and I said sports medicine, like he lit up. He lit up, and he then told me that he and some of his buddies had tried to go through the program, and they all didn't make it. It was too hard, too rough. And then he looked at me as if I was like the savior. He's like, "You got to do this. Like you got to be the one to get through." And it was kind of odd and strange. But even going through those days where I felt this triumph and I felt this, got to do it type attitude, there were still sometimes things that were said that would make you think, am I making the right decision? And it was never about what I wanted to do. It was more so about how people would envision me as an athletic trainer. And those little small things just kept happening over and over, as the years go. And sometimes I think people do and say things without even realizing they're doing and saying them. So for me, I try not to take everything so harsh, and I try to find the bright side to things. And sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just got to overlook them. And I think that's how I've gotten to where I'm at now. A lot of times I just overlook, different things. And now getting older, it's tougher to overlook. Some things do have to be addressed, but I never let that stop me, which was the main point. But yes, I have, witnessed or experienced some systemic racist type comments and looks and things like that. So yes.
With recent events, you've had to have a lot of talks with your 6-year-old son. Can you tell me some of those conversations you've had?
Yeah. Wow. I was telling this story during the EDAC and AT CARES group thing we had. And one of the questions he asked me one day, we were watching something on TV. He asked me like, "Dad, why are the cops beating people up?" Because kids see stuff, and out of babes' mouths, right? And I felt like I was at a crossroads because I'm thinking he's 6, and should I be really real with a 6-year-old, or should I kind of give him the old cops and robbers spiel, or how should I handle that? But no, I straight up told him, I said, "Son, you're gonna learn when you get a little bit older. There are some bad people in the world, and there are good people in the world, and it's gonna be tough to navigate between which are which until they show you their colors or how they are." And it was eye-opening because I've heard stories before of mainly you hear the stories about people talking to their black sons. Well, I mean, I had a talk with my daughter as well. My daughter will be 23 next year, and she's actually graduating from the college. And actually, I'd rather talk about that story if that's okay with you. But just to finish that, I did have a talk with my son. He's 6. He's a smart young guy already. But I tried to keep it at a base level. But the conversation I had with my daughter, and then I'll lead into a story that happened here last fall, actually. My daughter finally moved out. She's a senior here at the college. She finally moved out last summer. And I'd always tell her, even when she was living with us, if you're on campus, stay on campus. If you decide to leave campus, or you're visiting with friends and you decide you want to come home, if it's after midnight, just stay there. Send me a text, let me know where you're at so I know you're safe. And she didn't realize at the time that that was more for her safety, right? And so one night, I think it was in October, I was traveling with football. I was out of town. I think I was in North Carolina. And she called me and she was crying. And it was 1 something in the morning, probably after 1:30. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I had bad service, so the phone hung up a couple times, called me back. And so anyways, long story short, I spoke with her, and she told me that she was leaving campus, and she drives a Mustang, right? She got an old style Mustang she drives. It's pretty loud, got little pipes on it and whatnot. I bought it that way, first of all. But she was driving down this dark road coming back to the house, and she got pulled over. And she said that when the cop approached her, he already had his gun pulled out. And it scared the crap out of her. And so I went right into father mode. I'm like, well, see, that's what I meant about staying on campus. It was for your safety. And it's not always about you running into, a person just off the street that could harm you. Like that situation I thought of as well. So we had a deeper conversation about that. And, it's tough trying to talk to your kids about the possible situations that could occur based on your skin color, but then also in the same breath try to tell them, well, that doesn't mean you have to think all cops are bad, because they're not. And sometimes it's hard for them to decipher that. And it's a hard conversation as well. But that did happen. Last fall, and it was tough. But I could see in her eyes she finally had an aha moment, and it was tough to deal with, tough to get through, but it happened. And I tried to explain to her, like, I've been pulled over numerous times, right? As a matter of fact, you know about the one I told you about that, and it was funny because you got way more upset than I was, because oddly enough, and I hate to say it this way, you get used to it. It sucks because you get used to it. A person shouldn't get used to that, But yeah, you were funny though when I told you that story, and it's just because of the car I drive. Like I don't look at things like that, but other people do. But yeah, so those conversations, man, with your kids, that can be heartening or disheartening as well. And then another quick story. I was speaking to a good friend of mine, well, a good acquaintance of mine, about these issues, and he's a self-employed businessman that's done well for himself. And one night I was working with him, and he asked me a question of, we start talking about politics a little bit, which I don't like talking about. I don't care about talking about politics much. But then we start talking about some of the things that have been happening with certain cases where, some people have been killed, and there was some injustices and this and that. So he said what he had to say. Then we start talking about generational issues, and he started talking about the millennials and all that type of stuff. So he brought something up that kind of hit me a little hard, and he said, I don't understand why parents or Black parents feel like they need to talk to their kids about how to interact with the police. And I'm like, wow, sweet. But that's the thing. I said, you hadn't been through it. So if you've never been through it, you won't understand. And what I told him that day was, I said, first of all, you're a smart dude. Like, you can think for yourself. But listen to a guy that, don't mind having these conversations with you. it's a real deal issue that has to be done. No matter what you think about it, because you never experienced that, it has to be done. Man, my throat getting worse. But yeah, so those those conversations are tough. And you know, some people say, well, we shouldn't have to do that. But yeah, but we do. That's the reality of it. We have to do it. You're muted.
With these hard times, I know there's a lot going on, and I know you're a very religious man. How has religion played in your daily life?
Well, you know, I like to say I'm very spiritual, and uh, the easy answer would be you pray a lot, right? You know, and I do that to kind of calm my own nerves and kind of relax. I've tried the meditation route. That don't usually always work for me. I start meditating and my mind starts wandering on other stuff, and then I think about work again. But you know, I look at verses, or I remember verses that I hear in church, or I think about the commandments, and no matter what I go through or people that I know go through, I keep telling myself, and I tell my kids and people who I'm close to, we still have to treat people as people, you know, good, bad, and indifferent. And as tough as some people say it is, I pray for the people that do wrong. To be honest, like I feel like you have to, and that kind of gives you a sense of confidence or calmness. Because for me, when I pray for them, I feel like I'm doing what's right in the eyes of the person who, or the oddity that I see as all, you know, my God, or whatever you want to call that supernatural being. For me, that makes me feel good about the things that I do. So love thy neighbor, right? No matter what they do to you or against you. I've seen where people have said or written things or said things, but not so what many people think. Everybody don't like Rob, right? But but you see things and you hear things, and I'm to the point now where I just smile and I keep going. If you know the phrase is being hated upon, if I'm hated upon by anyone, I smile and keep going. I say a quick prayer for them and I just keep going. Because the only life I can control is my life. That's it. So if I let what other people do and say about me make me feel bad, that's my fault. I allowed that. So I take that even with these issues as well. But it is tough. And I try to stay away from social media. I try to, you know, I don't watch much TV. I watch recorded television a lot. I watch shows that I like that make me feel good. But every time I see another story, I almost start all over again with the hurt, the pain, the madness, the sadness, all those different emotions. But in the end, you know, I think about those conversations I used to have with my friends in college. It's like, you know, we're all here for a purpose. No matter what that purpose is, we're here for a purpose. And that keeps me grounded. That spiritualness of knowing that I haven't fulfilled my purpose yet keeps me grounded. And with that, I feel like at some point, things will be okay. I'm not gonna say, you know, racism is gonna end. I definitely don't believe that. I think that, you know, people need to work together. There needs to be more love because right now there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of misunderstanding. There are people that, you know, you feel like they sometimes say the wrong thing and they don't mean it, but it's a misunderstanding. So we got to kind of dig through all that. And for me, my spiritualness or my spirituality helps me get through that. And talking to people who are like-minded like me helps me get through that. So it plays a major role.
So, closing statement, next couple minutes, all yours. Your closing statement, Rob.
So yeah, I was trying to get my thoughts together and get my throat right. So for me, like I just said earlier, it's more of let's take each situation for what it is. Let's try to think of how we can help resolve. Because right now it's a lot of talking, right now, there's a lot of if this and if that, but I haven't seen a lot of resolve, and that's on every side. I'm always one to I look at the glass half full and half empty. I like to try to figure out, you know, it's not a your thought versus my thought type deal, right? Because if we don't agree on something, I want to get in your head and try to figure out, okay, well, why do you not agree with the way I'm saying it? Because I know the way I'm saying it is not the end all be all. So I try to understand why you feel that way. And if I can get to an end point of we agree to disagree, I'm good with that. But we got to respect each other. And I think that's what's missing. There's a lot of disrespect and no respect. Because to me, those are two different things. You got disrespect, which you intently treat people wrong. And then there's no respect. Because at that point, you don't listen to anything they say. Anything they have to say, is null and void. So for me, you got to show respect. We need compassion. We need love. And to be honest, I had this conversation with some people some weeks ago, and I told you this, which is why it took us so long to do it. I just got tired. I got tired. Like literally, I was mentally drained. I was physically drained. The compassion that I try to give off, I had none. I was angry at some points. I refused to speak to certain people about certain things because I feel like I'm always explaining, which I shouldn't be. If you don't know the difference between right and wrong, I can't teach you that. There's nothing I can say that's going to teach you the difference between right and wrong. And if you can't see their subtle differences and sometimes very direct differences by the way people are being treated, I think your eyes are wide shut. And a lot of times your ears are so closed that you don't want to hear what I got to say. And that's disheartening as well. But I won't stop knocking at the door. You know what I mean? I won't stop knocking at the door. As bad as it is, I give myself time to relax, kind of decompress. And then before you know it, I'm talking to someone who's like-minded. And then the inspiration comes back and the dedication comes back. The compassion comes back because I do want to help solve problems. You know what I mean? In my little niche of an area, even if it's just in this office and in this building, I want to help solve the issues. But we all got to come together before that happens.
That's all I have, Rob. Thank you so much for your time. And I'll talk to you soon.
Blessings. Thank you.